Perhaps no one has put their weight behind Trump in a more unique way than my next guest, who's recently compared backing Donald Trump to picking up women at a bar during last call. Ernie Boch is with us. He's Ernie Boch Jr. He's the president and CEO of Boch Enterprises and a Donald Trump supporter. Ernie, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So what was that reference that you made of picking up women in a bar?
Well, it was the people that were undecided that had to vote, or the people that were so disgusted with what was happening or is happening and won't vote. And it was a reference to, hey, last set, last song, last call at the bar. You have to choose. It's time to go.
And certainly you have to choose if you're looking at the Republicans versus the Democrats. And so you've made your choice. Why is Donald Trump your guy?
I think Donald Trump's my guy because of his many attributes. People have talked about it over and over and over. But what I think is almost comical at this point is everybody, or it seems like everybody, is telling you not to vote for this gentleman. I've never seen it before in any election, local, national. It's the fortitude that Mr. Trump has to keep going and trying to change this country is amazing. And I've been a fan of Mr. Trump since the 80s, business guy. Most business guys respect Mr. Trump, just an amazing business guy. And I just think he will be, at this point, what we need is a gentleman like that in the White House.
Yeah, a lot of people saying why not to vote for him, because, and we haven't seen that. But we also haven't seen a candidate that's been so vocal in opinions and, you know, has said some of the things that he said, like what he said about Mexicans, like what he said about Muslims. Let me bring Jacob McDowell in here, because this has been quite extraordinary, hasn't it?
It has, because he's willing to say absolutely anything. You heard him talking to that protester, saying, go home to your mommy. But Ernie, at last call in a bar, the other option that many people choose is going home with no one. And going home alone rather than getting in the sack with somebody who you're not very attracted to. So I don't know.
You have to vote.
But you know what? People can choose not to vote. And I think if you're a Trump supporter, is that your concern at this point, that people go to the polls and say, I'm not voting for either, or I might vote for Hillary?
Yeah, and if you don't vote, you give it to Hillary anyway, right?
Right, exactly.
But I think if you're going to go to the polls, you are going to vote. And I think that Mr. Trump has brought people out that normally don't vote. A lot of people are voting that normally don't. And in Massachusetts, a lot of Democrats turned to Republican to vote for Mr. Trump.
Hey, Ernie, is there anything in particular that you think Trump would do as president from a policy perspective that appeals to you? Or is it just his character and demeanor that's drawn you to him?
I think he's the right guy for the job, and I think that
But what do you want to see him get done? What does he say he will do that you want to see him carry through on?
Government waste, I think, is a big issue. I think he can save the U.S. a lot of money with government waste. And I think it's time for a guy like this in the White House. It's only 4 years. Let's give him a shot.
Yeah, but look at the first 4 years of President Obama's term, and you saw how he completely upended a large chunk of the economy with just Obamacare, for example.
Right. Well, you know, that's the chance you take. I am not a big Obama supporter. I don't think that he should have got elected. He did. But it's time now to put somebody different in there.
Do you have the confidence in Donald Trump that he is going to make the right decisions when it comes to national security, when it comes to dealing with our adversaries around the world, or when it comes to dealing with an economy that has become more complex?
Yes, Mr. Trump is a machine. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He will live for this job. He'll do a great job. Yeah,
the only issue is that he doesn't give us a lot of substance. So we're trying to push back to try to tap into what it is on the substance side of things that really is attracting you. Or do you just feel that at this point in time, this country needs a tough guy, and it's okay with you that it doesn't necessarily translate into specifics on policy?
Well, he hasn't really come out specifically on a lot of things, but I don't think that's why people are supporting him. I think they're supporting the man. They want this guy in there.
But at the end of the day, policy matters.
Right.
And you know what people always say, they were surprised by what President Obama did. Well, he's gone after all of these things. So we have to have some sense of what he's going to do when he goes in. He talks about building the military and how critical that is. But he also, his tax policy says more than half of American households don't have to pay any income taxes, codifying something that's already in place. So how are you going to pay for it?
Well, that is true. A lot of the candidates have tax policies that they want to change. We'll have to get into the details, but again, I think people are looking to Mr. Trump to lead them to a place that we haven't been.
Yeah.
Ernie, do you see him as a conservative, and do you see yourself as a conservative?
I'm a fiscally conservative and socially liberal. I think that the GOP has almost completely devastated itself, and something new will arise.
Yeah.
It's amazing that everybody is saying don't vote for Mr. Trump, and his fortitude just cannot be questioned.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
What's your take on Michael Bloomberg officially now dashing any hopes that he would mount an independent run for president? He's out this morning. He's got this op-ed basically saying it's a risk I'm not going to take.
Well, I never thought he'd jump back in, but I thought he did a great job in New York City. I really did.
Yeah. Okay. So you weren't expecting him to join the presidential run anyway. What do you think? What do you think Donald Trump is going to talk about when there are no more polls to talk about, and when he is actually in the job?
I think he's a machine. He will work tirelessly night and day to get the problems that we have fixed.
Yep. Ernie, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate your insights very much. Ernie Boch Jr. there.